about the Indian Constitution. So we are going to see what is Indian Constitution, why we require it. So just take some game, say football. So football and volleyball and basketball all are played with ball, but they have different rules. While you are playing volleyball, you can touch the ball with your hands. But while you are playing football, touching football by your hand is a foul. So different games have different rules. Like these games, society also has constitutive rules that make it what it is, what society is, and differentiate it from other kind of societies. When we have large societies, we have different communities of people, they live together. Then these rules are formulated through consensus, means all the community people, they sit and they decide that what society they want. So in modern countries, this consensus is usually available in a written form. A written document, and this is very important, a written document in which we find such rules is called a constitution. So constitution is a written document defining the rules, regulations, laws, how the society is going to be. So this constitution, who wrote it, what are the key features of this, our Indian Constitution? We'll try and see that what Indian Constitution means. But before going to Constitution, why does a country need a Constitution? Before we go ahead, let me just show you this. This is a picture, and this picture is saying 1000 words. What it is saying is, in 1934, the INC, Indian National Congress, made the demand for Constituent Assembly. And during the Second World War, this assertion of an independent Constituent Assembly formed only of Indian gained momentum. This was convened in December 1946. So if you see there, you have this Constituent Assembly. We will show you one picture. So this is about Nepal, and we'll try to, the differentiation of the constitution or the constitution, why it is required, we'll discuss about Nepal also. So what was happening between December 1946 and December 1949? There was an assembly. So if you see this assembly, the Constituent Assembly drafted a constitution for independent India. Because the India has long been under the British rule. So the members of the Constituent Assembly, they have a proper approach. The task was that how this things which were happening earlier should not be there. This photo is, here you see, he is our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, and he is addressing the Constituent Assembly, who was responsible, or that was responsible for constitution of constitution. So today most of the countries of the world, they have constitution. While all democratic countries are likely to have constitution, it is not necessary that all countries that have constitution, they are democratic. So what I mean to say is, a democratic country will surely have a constitution. But if a country has a constitution, that doesn't mean it is democratic. Okay? So this way it is true. Democratic country has to have a constitution, it will have a constitution. But if country has a constitution, that doesn't mean that it is a democratic country. So the constitution serves many purposes. First and foremost is it lays out certain ideals that form the basis of the kind of the country that we as citizens aspire to live in. What kind of country the citizens thinks to be. We can put it in another way, a constitution tells us what the fundamental nature of our society is. Because country is not made up of just people. There are people of different faith. There are people of different communities. There are people of different caste, creed, religion. So they all have to come together and all the beliefs have to be agreed upon. So this constitution helps serve as a set of rules and principles that all persons in the country they agree upon, and on the basis of which they want the country to be governed. So this includes not only the type of government but also an agreement on certain ideals that they all believe the country should uphold. So this is the first purpose of the constitution, is how the citizens wants the country to be. How the society they wants to be, and all have to agree upon this. This is very important. So we'll try to understand as I showed you this picture, what we mean that this, we will show you the contrasting situation of Nepal, the country which is just sharing the border with India on the north. So until quite recently, Nepal was monarchy. Monarchy means a single person like the king, he was the whole soul. He was governing the country. So the previous constitution of Nepal, adopted in 1990, it reflected the fact that final authority will rest with the king. But the people movement in Nepal fought for several decades in order to establish the democracy. And what happens in 2006, they finally succeed in putting an end to power of kings. Now the people have a written, they have a right, or they need to write a new constitution to establish the democracy. So the reason that they do not want to continue the previous constitution, because it does not reflect the ideas of the country that they want Nepal to be, and they did all the hard work fighting for the democracy. So as we saw in the game of football, in which if you change the rules, the game changes. So Nepal, by moving from monarchy to democratic government, it needs to change the constitutive rules also, which will govern the society. That is why the people of Nepal are in the process of writing a new constitution. The caption alongside you, if you just see, I'm going to explain that. This is the Nepal struggle for democracy. Let me just give you a hint. The country of Nepal has witnessed several people struggle. They were struggling to get democracy. So there was a people struggle in 1990 that established democracy that lasted for 12 years until 2002. In 2002, King Gyanendra, citing the Maoist uprising in the country as the background or as the reason, he began taking up different aspects of the government with the army assistance. The king then finally took over as the head of the government in February 2005. So in November 2005, the Maoists joined other political parties to sign a 12-point agreement. And this agreement, it signaled to the larger public as an imminent return to democracy and peace. So in 2006, this people movement for democracy again began to be more immense. So it repeatedly refused the small concession that king is giving them. And finally, in April 2006, the king restored the third parliament and asked the political parties to form a government. So in 2007, Nepal adopted an interim constitution, and these are the photos or scenes where people actually came and they joined hand for the struggle of getting the democracy. One more important purpose of constitution is to define the nature of the country's political system. So first we saw that the citizen, they agree upon and they want how society has to be. That is citizen, you can say citizen belief, you can say. The second is what we are discussing is that the constitution of the nature of country's political system. So country's political system, you can say. For instance, Nepal, we were just talked about earlier, constitution stated that the country was to be ruled by king and his council of ministers. So in countries that have adopted a democratic form, the government or policy, the constitution plays a crucial role because it lays down certain important guidelines, rules and directions that govern the decision making within these societies. So political system is governed by our what? Is governed by the for a different country it can be different, because Nepal and India are different countries. So basically constitution decides it. So in a democracy we choose leader. Now they have power, but there is always a possibility that the power may be misused. So what constitution is doing? Constitution is safeguarding that even if we select someone and he is misusing his power, then the injustice can be stopped or can be taken care. I'll just give you an example. Here is the class monitor, and he has some problem with someone. Now the teacher, she just left for some work, and when she came, the monitor said that this guy is creating nuisance, he is disturbing. Now because this guy was just sitting, he was not doing nothing, but still he was implicated. That means the monitor said that he is doing wrong in the class, and for no rhyme or reason the person here is he has to listen to the ma'am, because ma'am was being told that you are not obeying the class monitor, so you just write, I will not disobey the class monitor 100 times. So this was a kind of misuse of the power that this monitor enjoys. So in democratic societies, the constitution lay down certain rules in order to safeguard the misuse of the authority by any political leader. So we have certain fundamental rights. We have fundamental rights. If you recall about Om Prakash Valmiki, now he faced problem because he was a Dalit. But now Indian constitution guarantees the right to equality to all persons and say that no citizen can be discriminated against the grounds of religion, no discrimination against or on the basis of race, caste, creed, gender, place of birth or birth origin, you can say, place of birth. So the right of equality is one of the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. One more important function of Constitution is what it plays in a democracy is that it ensures that the dominant group does not use its power against other less powerful, marginalized people or groups. So there is one more story that we have in a class, less girls and the number of boys were more than the girls. So they decided to play cricket. Girls wanted to play some other game, and they went to the teacher, and the teacher said, okay, just raise your hand. And because the boys were in majority, teacher said, okay, we must play the game the boys want to be. Now here we have a majority which are boys, then we have a minority which are girls, but girls have equal rights and they must be heard. Only because boys are in majority, the teacher cannot decide on the basis of that. So constitution is there, and it plays a very important role, that the dominant group, that is the majority group, should not bully, should not impinge upon the minorities. So these kind of unhealthy situations, it will occur in our democratic societies. It will happen where the majority would want to enforce decision on the minorities, or they will even exclude the minorities or the minority interest from making decision. So the constitution contains rules in order to ensure that these minorities should get, or they are not excluded from anything that is routinely available to the majority. So why we have a constitution is precisely in order to prevent any kind of tyranny or domination by the majority on minority. Inter-community domination, or members of, there can be two kinds of domination, that is inter-community and intra-community. So let me write it as inter, and this is intra. Inter-community means you have a community and there is a problem in inter-community, that is majority, or say some rich people or any other powerful people, they are not looking after, they are just doing everything to exclude the interest of the minority here in the same community. But if you have two different community, and this community is in majority and this is in minority, now this majority is excluding or doing all those things or making decisions on the basis that they enjoy all the powers and the good life. These minorities are excluded, they are not even thought of. So these are inter-community and intra-community domination. Then we have the third significant reason why we need a constitution: to save us from ourselves. How can we save us from ourselves, right? So we'll just look at the story. There's a girl, she has exam the coming day. Now she, because her parents were looking at a television serial, and she also likes that television serial. Now if she was worried, because even if she doesn't see the serial, her mind will always be, you can say, inclined towards that program only, and she has to finish 2 chapters. But she went and she said that, Mama, Papa, if you don't see this program today, then I can just study these chapters, and because tomorrow I have my exam. And this exactly happened. And the next day, most of the question came from the chapters which were remaining for her to read. So the constitution helps to protect us against certain decisions that we might take that could have an adverse effect on the larger principle. Like we just think about today's benefit, that is, I see the program, I will enjoy myself, but what about tomorrow? It may happen that many people who live in democracy might come to strongly feel that party politics has become an acrimonious, that we need a strong dictator to set this right. That means some people can come and they may say that this government is not good, just rule out this government, let us have the monarchy, or let us have the rule of say the army, or we can have king. So these kind of things can come in people's mind. So when we have a good constitution, it does not allow these whims to change the basic structure. It does not allow for the easy overthrow of the provision that guarantee rights of citizens and protect their freedom. That is how the constitution play a very important role in democratic societies. Now let us understand the key features, or you can say understand the ways in which these points we just discussed get translated into certain ideals and rules by studying some key features of Indian Constitution. Here we can see that we have Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, a prominent member of the Constituent Assembly. So the Indian Constituent, or you can say Indian Constitution, has certain key features. By the beginning of 20th century, the Indian national movement, it has given, or it has a very important role to play in this struggle from the British. And during the freedom struggle, the nationalists, they have devoted a great deal of time imagining and planning for a better country, a free country. And before that, they have to obey the laws of British. Now this long experience of this authoritarian rule under this colonial state convinced India that free India should be a democracy. Everyone should be treated equally, and everyone should be allowed to participate in the government. So this was the basic thing that remained. So this was done by not one person, but more than 300 people, 300% who became members of the Constituent Assembly in 1946. And it went on for 3 years. They met periodically for the next 3 years to write Indian Constitution. So these members of the Constituent Assembly, they have a huge task, because we have different communities, different religions, various rules. So that when the Constitution was written, India was not in a good state. That is, there was turmoil. Partition was there. There were princely states. So the socio-economic condition of people were also not good. So all of these issues, they played on the minds of the member of Constituent Assembly when they drafted the Constitution. and they just want to prevent the diversity. Also, they want to preserve the national unity. So the final document, it reflects the concern of eradicating the poverty through socio-economic reforms, also emphasizing the crucial role that the people can play in choosing their representative. So we need to understand there are certain main key features of India. It is becoming a strong democratic society. First is federalism. Federalism is what? Federalism is that we have different level of government. That is, if this is Delhi, so this is Delhi. So the Delhi government cannot control or cannot just make rules for each and every single state or province or village, you can say. They can make the rules on the national security. They can make the rules for all as a whole. But when it comes to a certain state, the state knows better. So there has to be a state government. So there has to be a central government, state government, and then we have Panchayati Raj. So these are the three levels of government, and this levelism is known as the federalism. This is the federalism. Because there are certain powers the government, central government enjoys, or they have their own list, and then we have the list, that is the state government, and then we have the lower level, that means the main level, where the Panchayati Raj and all other comes. Then we have parliamentary form of government. This is the second thing. So we elect people, we elect the MPs, first of all we elect the parsheds, that is the corporators. Then we elect the vidhayaks, and these vidhayaks are they elect whom? They elect the chief ministers. So this is a state. So we elect the vidhayak, and vidhayaks will elect the chief minister. So this is the federalism only, but here we have the parliamentary government form of government, and then we have election, general election we call it. So we select some 500 plus, 540 plus MPs, that is member of parliament. Now this member of parliament will have constituencies, more than one constituency will contain more than one constituency of the vidhayaks. Okay. So every citizen of the country, he can vote and he can contest the election also. So we have universal adult suffrage, or universal, you can say, all the adults of the country, they can give vote, and they can also, this universal adult suffrage, that means they can vote and they can elect people. Then we have separation of power. Separation of power means we have legislature, then we have the executives, legislature, let me write legislature, then we have judiciary. So now legislature makes the rules, makes the Kanun, and then executives, they execute, the proper implementation is on upon them. Then we have judiciary. Any problem which arises between, say, state or state, between people in the state, between people and people. So these have different separation of power, and nobody can intervene. In fact, if I can say that judiciary is a different entity, is a different pillar of the, you can say, the democracy. So these are the separation of powers. So we have used a word state, that this state means not this state, that is the Delhi is a union territory. Say Uttar Pradesh, or say Kerala, they are states. But we are talking about state, that doesn't mean the state, but the Indian state, like the Nepal state, like the UK state. So now we have fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are what? Fundamental rights, because we have already seen the colonial rule. So fundamental rights means these were done, or these were there to protect the citizens against the arbitrary and absolute exercise of power by state. So the constitution is guaranteeing the rights of individual against the state as well as against the individual. And because we have minority communities, we don't want these minority communities communities to feel low. So the constitution guarantees the right of minority against the majority also. Let me tell you what Dr. Ambedkar has said. He has said that the fundamental rights have twofold objective. The first objective is that every citizen must be in a position to claim these rights, and secondly, that these rights must be binding upon every authority that has got the power to make law. So in addition to these fundamental rights, the constitution has a directive principles of state policy also. And why it was designed by the members of the Constituent Assembly to ensure that greater social and economic reforms in order to serve as a guide to the independent Indian state to institute laws and policies that help reduce the poverty of masses. So we have the fundamental rights, that is right to equality. All persons are equal before law, whether he is rich, she is of another gender, or say some other caste. Everyone is equal before law. Right to freedom, anyone can speak anything. Freedom of speech is there, freedom of expression is there, and all freedom is there. They can practice any profession, occupation or business. Then right against exploitation, that is human trafficking, forced labor, employment of children under 14 years of age. This is all right against exploitation. The right to freedom of religion. You can choose any religion. You can also propagate any religion of your choice. You can go to any other religion. You can marry any person of any other religion. You can have friends of any other religion. Cultural and educational rights. That means that all minorities, religious and linguistic, can set up their own educational institution in order to preserve and develop their own culture. So there is no, if there are madrasas or there are some mutts, there is no problem. Government will not interfere. It is all allowed. And the right of constitution remedies, this allows citizens to move to court if they believe that any of their fundamental rights have been violated by the state. Then we have secularism. Secularism also is very important. That secular state, because we have so many religions, this means that all religions are equal under the eye of constitution. First of all, the government, that means the secular state, is one in which the state does not officially promote any one religion. The government is not promoting it. Is not actually, it is written that they are not going to make anything or any act so that one religion is praised or they promote any other religion. We'll talk about this because there is a whole chapter, right? So this is all about the constitution. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.